Hello, everybody. We're back with another episode of R&D. In this episode, we will be discussing the Netflix adaptation of Death Note. For a brief background on that, we're going to let Justin do his thing for a second.
Thanks, Len. Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Justin. What we're going to be talking about right now is the history of Death Note. It started off as a Japanese manga in 2003 and went about till 2006. It was about 12 volumes. And then because that was super popular, then it became an animated series. And then it started getting more popular. Became a live action series, live action movies, a couple animated movies, some video games, and you name it. They made it. Then it came over to good old America and didn't do so hot. They tried to be faithful, did an alright job, but not good enough, because no one liked it, it seems, except for if you've never watched the original series. So it's yay for new people, poo-poo for people who liked the series. Back to you, Len.
Now that that's out of the way, I think the first thing that we sort of have to deal with when talking about this movie, because it's a movie, not a show, is all of the attempts to adapt an anime into a movie. So, as an overall question, do we think that this movie was a decent adaptation of the original content, the anime?
Absolutely not.
No.
No, but it's better than most other adapted animes that I've seen.
Yeah, I might have to agree with that.
But it's still not good. Baby steps into the right direction. They had some moments where it was like, okay, I see what you did there. That's cool, but why all this other stuff? I will rewatch the American Death Note before I ever even contemplate about, Dragon Ball Evolution. Yeah, what about that?
Shit.
I had the unique opportunity to watch the movie first, because I'd never seen the anime, and then go back and watch the show. So, from that perspective, I felt like the movie was pretty good. Like, if you've never seen the show, you might like the movie. It might be fulfilling enough. There are some things that were good and bad about it, which we'll talk about in a minute. But overall, I felt like it was actually a pretty decent and well-made film. However, I then went back and watched the show, and you could see the things that they changed and the things that were different. And I can understand why somebody who was a fan of the show or was a fan of the manga, actually the original comic book before it was made into a show, may be disappointed in what they did with the film.
Yeah, I saw the show, the anime first, and when I saw the presentation of a new Death Note, I thought it was going to be a television series, and I was more excited about that prospect. Like, oh, cool, they're going to adapt it into a TV series. This should be interesting, but Bud here mentioned it was a movie. Then I got dreadfully, afraid of the incoming disappointment. Like, oh, great, you're gonna cram the content of like an anime that's almost 40 episodes long into 120-minute movie. It's like, come on, man. It's like there's nothing good can come from that. I mean, yeah, you guys make a fair point. If you don't know Death Note, the manga or the anime, you might think it's okay, but once you imbue yourself in the source material, you see how hollow the movie is compared to the source material. It's just unavoidable, and I think it was just kind of a big mistake. That's the problem. It has the name Death Note attached to it, and if people have any ounce of initiative, they're gonna look into it and find out all kinds of things that the manga and anime expand more on than the movie could ever do at this point. So, yeah.
All right. Well, let's begin talking about the things that went right with the film, the things that were good about them. In general, I feel like the filmmaking was done very well. In terms of the adaptation from the Japanese culture to American culture, I think was done decently as well. Like, some of the setting changes made sense in terms of that transition. Now, it was sort of controversial for some people, the whole whitewashing of the cast and things like that. But I feel like in the movie, they may have made an effort to try and suggest some of what happened in the original show may have still actually happened this is now a new person. This is now a new story. This is sort of a different direction. But what did you feel went well with the film?
I thought some of the characteristics of Elle was done fine. Also, well, before I go into this, I'm not the hugest Death Note fan. Like, I knew about it when it came out. I was like, that thing's creepy looking. I think I watched a couple episodes when it first showed up. Then I was like, meh, kind of got bored of it. And then I only recently rewatched everything to get ready to watch the adaptation, because I really like the director, Adam Wingard.
Which, for quick notes, what else has he done?
Adam Wingard did the movie You're Next, and he also did the movie The Guest, and he did the newest Blair Witch movie. I haven't seen that, but I really liked You're Next, and I really liked The Guest. And he used a lot of the same thematic elements, I guess, as The Guest, where it had this weird 80s retro kind of vibe, which has been super popular these days, which I felt worked more on The Guest than it did in Death Note.
Yeah, I thought it felt a little weird too in Death Note.
But what worked is I did like a lot of his direction. I thought some of that was pretty cool. I was impressed that because it was on Netflix, that they kind of were able to, they didn't have a rating systems to deal with. So they did go a little more violent on some of the deaths, but I thought that was a little too much.
It approached rated R.
But it was definitely a rated R movie, especially with not Misa being super crazy.
I think they just called her Mia in the movie.
Yeah.
They took the S out. That's it.
I thought Ryuk, for the most part, was pretty good.
Yeah. Kind of wish there was more of him, actually. they sort of let him take a backseat to everything here.
Yeah, and I have a feeling all of that was just because of budgets. Like, they, because I remember reading they tried to have like a full human prosthetic, or they tried to do like a CG, like it is in the Japanese live action movies.
Yeah. But
they were just like, it didn't look very good.
I know. I thought what we saw of him actually did look well. Like some of Willem Dafoe, who plays Ryuk, some of his performance comes through in the way that the character sort of carries himself, and little mannerisms that Dafoe came through.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah, Ryuk was well done. I always forget the actor's name, but I liked the actor who played Light's dad.
Nice.
Okay.
I thought he was really good. He did the best he could with what he was given for that role, even though the dad was changed a lot.
Yeah.
In the movie.
Well, in the original, the dad is sort of this like old school Japanese archetype of the hard nosed cop,
super stoic Japanese dad. Yeah, I thought those were some of the things that worked.
So I also agree with you. It's weird because I feel like their rendition of Elle was both one of the best things about the movie, and at the same time one of the worst things about the movie, which we'll talk about when we get into the bad. But before we move on, I want to give you a chance to say, what did you think? If there was anything that went well,
no,
what did you think?
William Dafoe's depiction of Ryuk was great. Like, and after the movie was over, I found myself going to YouTube and just rewatching all the clips of him, because I thought it was really cool. Like, fuck, why couldn't there have been more of this? Like, I would have dug the movie some more. But Justin brought a good point that never occurred to me, because I was just so angry about the adaptation. Was the guy who plays Elle's dad was definitely, it's a good performance. I give him that. And I do give him credit that they made the Death Note function and behave like it did in the anime. That's, more or less pretty faithful. They only brushed over, again, the rules, because they only have so much time in the movie to explore what the Death Note can do.
Yeah. Well, I think they took a lot of liberties with the rules and added some things that weren't there in the original, and then took away some of the things that were there. So that got kind of interesting.
You have to watch the anime, because every intermission episode they have a rule posted, and you have to really look into all that to confirm it. I can't, but I think if you look, maybe they might have some stuff they might have drawn directly from the anime, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I couldn't pay attention to all this.
So one of the things that stood out to me that they didn't do in the movie was in the movie. There's this whole story arc where Light basically gets rid of the book, which makes them forget that they ever had possession of it and the things that they did. And so there's like half a season of them where they have no memory of that.
So
they didn't do that in the film.
That could,
Of course not.
That could
Not enough
possibly
time.
be the plot of the sequel.
Yeah.
Now, as much
shit.
as people want to bag on this movie, like no one knows the watch counts of what it made on Netflix, but everyone, like a lot of people watched it, whether they liked it or not. So no matter what, they got the clips, they got the clicks, so they can, if they wanted to, they could make another one if they felt the need to.
Well, I
That's
feel
going
like
blind.
Yeah, I didn't want them to actually get into that story arc. I just felt like it was kind of an important thing for them to mention because they were talking about passing the book from Light to Mia and the different people writing in the pages. That was the other thing I thought got confusing, was that anybody could simply write in the book and something would happen. You know, like in the original show, if someone touched the book, they could see the death god, the Shinigami.
Yes.
In the movie, Mia touches the book and she can't see.
Like
So that was another thing that they changed.
Yeah, well, it's a movie. Yeah, they crunch all that stuff. They didn't want to convolute with all these little rules and nuances that the Death Note could do. Which, again, I have a problem with. It's a movie.
Okay, so that brings us to our next topic, which is what was going wrong. Hey everybody, today we're going to be doing a section which I will probably be calling Missed Opportunities, in which I talk about some of the aspects of filmmaking that would improve the film or project that we're talking about. In this instance, we're going to be talking about Death Note. One of the biggest differences for me between Death Note, the anime, and Death Note, the movie, is how Kira's victims died. And this ties into how L, the detective, narrows down his suspects, which is pretty much the entire point of the first season of the show. In the original show, most of Kira's victims die by heart attack. It's the rules of the book where if a person's name is written in the Death Note but no cause of death is written, they automatically die of a heart attack by default. Most of Kira's victims in the show died of a heart attack, which made it really easy for the police to determine which deaths were attributed to Kira and which ones were just accidents. In the movie, they don't do this, which means it's kind of strange. How would the police make sense of what was an accident and what was one of Kira's victims, unless Kira had them write, "I killed them," on the wall? Light's second victim is actually the person who killed his mother in the story. And Light writes it so that he's impaled with his own steak knife. It would be really difficult for the police or for L to figure out whether that was simply an accident or whether it was actually Kira's victim. A lot of the deductions that L makes in the movie are just wild leaps of rationale that we as the audience are just supposed to expect. It's not like what happens in the show, where L makes some very direct, very specific assumptions about how Kira operates. He even goes as far as to fake his own death by having a double take his place on TV. This is something that they just skip over in the film, and they really just brush over the whole part that makes Light Kira. In the movie, a lot of this is pushed on him by the female character Mia, instead of Light taking it on himself as he did in the original show. In the original, Light had a full-blown god complex, and he had no problem killing even the police officers who were investigating him, something that the Light wouldn't do in this version of the movie. Basically, those parts of the show, the whole chess game between L and Light, were the most important thing and the most entertaining aspect of the show, and they should have focused on that in the movie with the film. So I'll let you start, and then what did you think was bad about it?
Okay, so basically the only...
Now keep it somewhat clean.
Clean.
No, we can play dirty. It's all right.
Well, they only briefly schemed thematic ideas of what the Death Note is always trying to push, which is what's the idea of what is the meaning of justice, and like how do individuals approach the concept of justice, and like is it a real concept, or is it something that just human beings enforce on themselves to try to define their existence?
Yeah, or how power corrupts.
Right. They kind of just briefly just touch on nuances of that, but mostly it was just kind of more of a presentation. It's like, oh, what's going to happen with this guy that he has this weird book, and what's going to happen to him at the end. Not really answering this existential question, really.
Yeah, that's true. They did kind of like... It's a weird thing that they changed for the American adaptation. In the original, Light's character basically had like a full-blown god complex. Like, there was no question about what he was doing with the book for himself. But in the American version, they tried to make Light seem like this unfortunate hero. Like, he didn't want to use the book for the wrong things, which is different. Because in the original, Light actually used the book to kill the cops who were investigating him. In the movie, they wrote it so Mia was doing that. So it was very,
Spoiler!
yeah, it's spoilers. So it's very odd that they were okay. They were tweaking the hero, the main character of the story, so that he was more likable, so that he was still like an understandable good guy. But they were completely okay with making a woman the basic antagonist of the film, and she's the one who screws everything.
Yeah,
so I found that kind of
like to interject for a second, like in the Japanese adaptation, the woman is just this compliant, submissive, I'll do anything, use me as a tool, I don't care, I love you character. Interesting perspective on your genders there.
I think it's some cultural dialogue going on
Yeah,
there. What did
definitely.
you think? What was done wrong?
Other than 80% of it.
Other than the whole movie?
So, and which is funny because I think the movie's fine. I think it's okay, but it has its faults. It took out a lot of the most interesting aspects for me, of Death Note, which was the cat and mouse game.
Yes,
of
exactly.
Light and L.
Yeah,
right.
But like that scene in the diner where they're just like, I know who you are. Like, okay.
They just try to compact their whole like dynamic into just a few scenes. Again,
Yeah,
movie
there
compact.
was a lot of like, and in the anime, the first half of the series is what I liked the most. I didn't like the second half of the series.
The whole chess game between Light and L. Right.
No, that's the stuff I did like.
You
Yeah,
mean
that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
In the original, the first half of the first season is just those two.
Yeah, once they started living together, that was kinda
Exactly. I felt that way too.
So, if they make a sequel, they can keep it open to where there is the second Shinigami, there's the second Death Note, if they want to go that route. But you have to then create a new version of Misa. I feel
Which there's still room to do that. They just have to change the character's name even further.
They changed a lot of the characters. Yeah, it was annoying. They changed a lot of the character dynamics. Like, Ryuk was good, but Ryuk was never an instigator. He
Right.
never...
In the original, Ryuk was actually kind of dumb.
Yeah, well, he just wanted to see what would all happen. Like, he never wanted to push anything. Only thing he ever did was just drop the book. So, like, he didn't go, you need to write someone's name in, or I'm gonna, give it to
Somebody else.
Lady, and because she wants to kill, and also, yeah, Light was smart and sadistic, in a sense, maybe not sadistic, but he was smart, and what he felt he was doing was good because he started off killing off really terrible people, and then I got dumb and crazy,
Yeah.
and then
It also got
weird,
kind of
whiny little
Yeah.
emo kid that like no one liked. Sure, they showed that he was smart because he did everyone's homework and got caught. But I mean, they didn't show like his
how smart these two people
his
were.
tactileness. Like, probably one of my favorite scenes, which is weird, is him explaining the contraption of his desk in his room.
Oh, yeah.
Like that, knowing that he has a plan B, C, and D, like that is amazing to me. And
Yeah.
that's what made that character interesting to me. And
Yeah, in the original, Light had this well thought out plan of how he was going to use the identity of Kira and do all these things. But in the movie, all that sort of took a back seat, almost as if it was all Mia's idea, and he was just like, eh.
They made him a character who just stumbled into power and tried to just improvise as best he could. Kira in the anime was a guy who's very much the ends justifying the means, and he was controlled by his intellect. Basically, if I can do it, I will, and there's no if, and, or buts about it.
Yeah.
This kid in the
Nothing
American...
was off the table for him.
As long as, because he felt he was smart enough and he can get away with it, he can win this logic game, nothing was off the table. But this kid in the anime, or the American adaptation, was like, oh, I got this book, I want to do some good, but oh crap, people don't like me anymore, I don't want to be the bad guy, and this girlfriend's getting crazy, he wants to steal my book, what am I going to do? And then the sudden magnum opus spoilers at the end, that he just orchestrates this whole really
super convoluted,
uber complicated plan, like within minutes, like
On the fly.
right. It's like that, like you said, like they demonstrated that character's intelligence and that desk contraption. There are only 2 moments I can recall in the American adaptation they shined to the illusion that he had intelligence was he did other people's homework, and that super magnum opus
All right.
event setting at the end.
So to wrap this up, because we're running out of time, basically ask you all to give the movie a grade. Like, what would you give it as a school word grade?
C-.
Would you, if they do a sequel, are you going to check it out?
Yeah, just to probably rag on it more. I have no faith that they'll do it any better.
we're all very afraid of the adaptations. Yeah, I think I give it like a B-. Like I feel like it had potential. There were some things that they really should have hammered on, which I'll talk about in the missed opportunity segment. I would be interested to see what they do with it if they have another one. What's your view?
I would give it like a C. Yeah, it could have been. Even though it seemed like it dragged, I felt like it could have needed at least like 20 more minutes if it was going to be one movie to like just explain a little things more, like a couple minutes here in this scene, a couple minutes here in that scene.
Yeah.
That would have been a lot better for like certain characters' developments.
Yeah. All right. So overall, Death Note seems to score a C. Thank you for watching. If you like what we had to say, please subscribe. Check us out on Patreon in patreon.com/Studio4Productions. Until next time, thank you for watching.